I have been diagnosed with a delusional disorder, as I incessantly claim to perceive the sin values of everyone around me. The false heiress, Tsinua, bears a score of 99 above her head, while my parents possess a score of 87, and I, myself, am marked with a 0. They have confined me to a psychiatric hospital, where Tsinua whispers triumphantly in my ear, "Sister, your virtuous life now belongs to me." Little does she know, within the confines of this institution, every patient bears a value of 100 above their heads. They gaze at Tsinua with avaricious eyes, as if she were the most delectable dessert. The family doctor put away his stethoscope and, with a heavy shake of his head, addressed my parents. "Mr. Lin, Mrs. Lin, the delusional symptoms of your daughter are intensifying." I sat on the sofa, coldly observing the scene before me. My dear sister, Tsinua, nestled in our mother's embrace, cast timid glances my way. Her eyes rimmed with red, as if I were a feral beast poised to pounce. Above her head, a glaring crimson number, 99, flashed wildly. In stark contrast, my exceedingly disappointed parents bore the number 87 above theirs. Since the day I turned 18, I had been able to perceive the numerical representation of sin hovering above each person. The higher the number, the deeper the transgression. My life remained unsullied. Hence my value stood at 0. Yet Tsinua, the impostor who had been mistakenly raised in our family and enjoyed 20 years of opulence, bore a number that threatened to breach its maximum threshold. I had endeavored to convey to my parents that Tsinua was not the innocent darling they believed her to be. She engaged in bullying her classmates, deftly framing me for her misdeeds. She pilfered design drafts from the company to sell to our competitors, conveniently leaving my fingerprints behind. She even callously pushed my beloved cat from the rooftop after raising it for years, yet feigned innocence with tears. Each time I pointed at her number, 99, and screamed in protest, I was met with deeper disappointment and impatience from my parents. "Lin Wei, how long will you continue this ruckus? Nua is your sister. How could we have given birth to such a venomous daughter, unable to bear even the slightest good fortune for her sister?" In their eyes, I had become a twisted, jealous lunatic. Today, they had finally resolved to act. My father approached me, his gaze a tumultuous blend of emotions as he handed me a document. Wei, perhaps a stay in the sanatorium would do you good." It was not merely a sanatorium, it was the most notorious mental institution on the outskirts of the city, Hong Kong Hospital. I gazed at the number, 87, above his head and suddenly burst into laughter. They intended to send their only biological daughter to a mental institution for the sake of a counterfeit with a sin value of 99. I offered no resistance, obediently allowing 2 towering orderlies to escort me away. As I passed by Tsinua, she leaned closer, whispering triumphantly in a tone only we could hear, "Sister, your pristine life is now mine." She smiled at me with the glee of a thief who had stolen the world. I returned her gaze, my smile broader than hers. For I noticed the family doctor escorting me out bore a number of 90, while the orderlies carried 75. This sordid world had long ceased to harbor a place for me. Perhaps it was better this way. To a realm filled with kindred spirits might prove far more intriguing. Hong Kong Hospital, a name seemingly auspicious, masked a decaying atmosphere within. The stench of disinfectant was overpowering, and the long corridor echoed with the weeping emanating from an unknown patient room. I was ushered into a shared ward, already occupied by another individual. She sat by the window, meticulously cutting a newspaper with a pair of rounded, blunt scissors, muttering to herself. The orderly shoved me inside roughly, slamming the door shut behind me. "Behave yourself or you'll regret it." Ignoring the raucous shouts from outside, I focused my attention on my roommate. She appeared to be in her 40s, her hair a brittle yellow, her face haggard, yet above her head, a glaring 100 shone brightly. This was my first encounter with a full sin value. She seemed to sense my gaze, slowly turning her head, her murky eyes locking onto mine. Then, she broke into a peculiar grin, her teeth stained yellow from tobacco. "Another clean one has arrived." Her voice was grating, like sandpaper scraping against wood. A chill ran down my spine. Could she also see it? Footsteps echoed in the corridor, signaling the arrival of the attending physician and nurses. My door swung open, revealing a bespectacled doctor with golden-rimmed glasses, exuding an air of refinement, yet his number loomed ominously at 88. Trailing behind him was the head nurse, her value marked at 85. "Bed 13, new arrival, Lin Wei, the head nurse succinctly introduced. The doctor adjusted his glasses, his gaze lingering on me for a moment. Not as if examining a patient, but rather appraising a commodity. You seem quite normal. He offered a gentle smile. Miss Lin, welcome to Hong Kong. Here, you will receive the finest treatment. I regarded his duplicitous visage in silence. He seemed unconcerned, redirecting his attention to the woman by the window. Sister Wu. How are you feeling today? Have you taken your medication on time? The woman referred to as Sister Wu paused her scissor work, lifting her head. The eerie smile vanished, replaced by a vacant, dazed expression. Took the meds, and my head doesn't hurt anymore. Her performance rivaled that of Sinua in its artistry. The doctor nodded in satisfaction and departed with the staff. The door clicked shut once more. Sister Wu's stupor evaporated instantly, and she turned her attention back to me, chuckling softly. Little girl, don't be afraid. Here, being clean is a good thing. I furrowed my brows, perplexed by her words. Being clean means they won't set their sights on you. She lowered her voice, gesturing towards the ceiling, and it's clean enough to make one want to dirty it. With that, she returned to her newspaper cutting. I settled onto my bed, yet turmoil churned within me. This place was far from a mere mental institution. As evening descended, the hospital extinguished its lights. Darkness enveloped the ward, and the pale moonlight outside cast the shadows of the paper figure's sister who had cut onto the wall, clawing and menacing. I lay in bed, wide awake. Just as I believed the night would pass quietly, my mattress suddenly dipped slightly, as if someone had taken a seat at the foot of my bed. My skin prickled with fear, and I jolted awake. The room was dim, yet I could distinctly see a semi-transparent figure sitting at the foot of my bed, its back to me. It bore no sin value, because it was not human at all. I froze in place, paralyzed with trepidation. The figure slowly turned its head, devoid of facial features, only a blurred outline remaining. So fragrant, a hollow voice resonated in my mind. In that moment, I grasped Sister Wu's warning. A pure soul was a delicacy to such entities. I instinctively held my breath, my mind racing for a strategy. Just then, Sister Wu uttered a dreamlike murmur from across the room. Go away, this is mine. The semi-transparent figure quivered, seemingly intimidated. Reluctantly, it circled around me before ultimately passing through the wall and vanishing. I let out a long sigh of relief, my back drenched in cold sweat. I glanced towards Sister Wu's bed. In the darkness, her 100 value shone like an unquenchable red beacon, emanating a disquieting glow. The following day, I was summoned to participate in a group activity. The so-called activity entailed a throng of patients aimlessly wandering the garden. I encountered even more individuals. An elderly man in a wheelchair perpetually smiling, 100. A little girl clutching a doll, singing continuously, 100. A young man crouched in a corner, drawing circles in the dirt with his finger, 100. From my vantage point, nearly all the patients in the garden bore the glaring red, 100, above their heads. They appeared either dazed or simple-minded, quiet or manic, resembling ordinary mental patients. Yet I knew that each one of them, much like Sister Wu, was a wolf in sheep's clothing. And I, with a sin value of 0, was akin to a rabbit ensnared among wolves. However, these wolves seemed to hold little interest in me. Their gazes continuously drifted, almost unconsciously, towards the entrance of the hospital, imbued with a hungry anticipation. What were they waiting for? A week later, I discovered the answer. That day marked the hospital's visiting hours, and Sinua arrived once more. She wore a white Chanel dress, my favorite, a gift from my father on the occasion of my coming-of-age ceremony. Now it adorned her figure. She carried an exquisite fruit basket, her face etched with impeccable worry and concern. Sister, how are you? Both Mom and Dad miss you dearly. As she entered, the entire garden fell into an uncanny silence. I noticed the smiling old man, his wheelchair abruptly halting. The singing little girl ceased her melody, and the young man drawing circles froze, his fingers suspended in midair. All the patients, their gazes once dull and vacant, turned in unison to fixate on Sinua. Their eyes no longer reflected the usual emptiness, but rather an unmasked greed and desire, akin to that of hunters spotting prime prey. Startled by this unexpected attention, Sinua instinctively took a step back, clutching the nurse's arm. What is wrong with them? The nurse, accustomed to such occurrences, reassured her, It's nothing, Miss Lin. They've simply never seen someone as beautiful as you and are a bit curious. Only then did Sinua relax, a proud smile returning to her face as she approached me. Lowering her voice, she mouthed, "Look, everything that was yours is now mine." I remained silent, merely observing the frantic pulsation above her head. In the surrounding stillness, it gleamed like a rare blood diamond, coveted by the stars, radiating an irresistible allure. I finally understood. They were waiting for a delicacy such as Sinua. The higher the sin value, the more delectable it appeared to them. In their eyes, I was flavorless and bland, hardly worth their attention. Sinua flaunted her newly acquired diamond bracelet, recounting her parents' plans for yet another vacation, her words dripping with the triumph of a victor. She presumed I was envious and furious, unaware that I was merely witnessing the opening act of a grand performance. "Sister, why are you silent? Have you turned into a fool during your stay here?" Sinua, noticing my indifference, pushed me lightly. The moment her fingertips grazed my arm, an unexpected turn of events transpired. The smiling old man, who had been sitting in his wheelchair not far away, inexplicably glided towards us. His smile remained, though it now appeared frightfully sinister. "Young lady, your bracelet is simply exquisite," he rasped, his bony hand reaching for Sinua's wrist. She recoiled in terror, letting out a scream. "What are you doing? Don't touch me." The nearby nurse swiftly intervened, admonishing, "Mr. Chin, you mustn't frighten the visitors. Return to your place." The elderly man, referred to as Mr. Chin, momentarily blinked, obediently turning his wheelchair to glide back to his original position, all the while muttering, "So beautiful, so fragrant." Sinua's face drained of color, clearly shaken. Her earlier bravado evaporated, and she hastily declared, "I'll come back next week," before bolting away. Once she departed, the garden's atmosphere reverted to normalcy. The patients resumed their activities as if nothing had transpired. Yet, I clearly observed that as Sinua left, several patients bore expressions of insatiable greed, mirroring that of Mr. Chin. That evening, Sister Wu, while crafting paper figures, casually inquired without looking up, "Is that girl who came today your sister?" "She's a false sister," I corrected her. Sister Wu snipped the head off a paper figure with a decisive snip. TSK, truly a rare find," she mused. "It's been ages since I've seen such a delectable one." My heart skipped a beat. "What exactly are you people?" Sister Wu paused her cutting, raising her gaze, a flicker of complexity crossing her murky eyes. "We are the Sin Eaters." She revealed that the patients in Hong Kong Hospital were not ordinary souls. In life, they had either perpetrated heinous acts or harbored deep-seated vendettas. Their spirits tethered here by a peculiar rule, feeding on sin. The higher the sin value, the more alluring the individual became to them. Consuming such sins granted them fleeting moments of respite, alleviating the agony of their souls being crushed by the rules. The hospital's director appeared to be aware of their existence, employing special means to confine them here and frequently luring in high-sin individuals for some form of transaction. "That bespectacled doctor and the head nurse are accomplices," Sister Wu scoffed. "They are responsible for enticing food into our midst while we indulge. The director benefits from the disappearances of those individuals." Suddenly, it dawned on me. This was not a mental hospital, but rather a hunting ground. The patients were hunting dogs, the director was the hunter, and individuals like Sinua were the prey. "And you?" I asked Sister Wu, "Are you also a sin eater?" She shook her head, then nodded. "I was not originally," she murmured. "My daughter was killed by a beast, and I slaughtered his entire family, thus filling my sin quota. I am trapped here, surviving by consuming sin." Her tone was flat, as if recounting someone else's tale. "Why do you help me?" I voiced my lingering doubt, recalling how she had driven away the entity that sought to consume me the previous night. Sister Wu regarded me, her gaze somewhat unfocused. "You remind me of my daughter. So pure it pains the heart." I fell silent. "Little girl," Sister Wu suddenly called, "do you wish for vengeance?" I raised my head to meet her eyes. "I can assist you," she offered. "Let that false sister of yours become a feast for us all. But it comes at a price." "What price?" "Your purity." Sister Wu's eyes sharpened. "You must learn to utilize us, to guide us, even command us. This process will taint your hands." She fixed her gaze upon me, articulating each word. "Are you willing to transform from A0 into A100 for revenge?" I looked at her and smiled. "If it means sending her to hell, I care not whether I become a demon myself." Sister Wu nodded in satisfaction, retrieving an object from beneath her pillow and placing it in my hand. It was a tarnished copper coin threaded with a red string. This is a token, she explained. With it, you can communicate with us. Remember, they only heed the commands of the strong or the allure of greater temptation. I gripped the cold coin tightly. The chessboard of vengeance had finally unfurled before me, and the first piece would move on the next visiting day, 1 week hence. In the following week, I led an unusually tranquil existence. I took my medication punctually, participated in group activities, and presented myself as an ordinary patient undergoing treatment. Only I was aware that I was becoming familiar with my weapon. Holding the coin, I could distinctly hear the thoughts of my fellow patients. Most were chaotic, ravenous, and steeped in suffering. So hungry. Kill you. Why me? These voices surged into my mind like a tidal wave, nearly overwhelming me. Yet I forced myself to listen, to discern. I located Mr. Chin, the smiling old man in the wheelchair. His thoughts, apart from hunger, fixated on one name, Xiaoya. I have found the little girl who sings. She repeats the same nursery rhyme over and over, yet within her heart, she screams, "Mother, I am so cold, and my doll's body is also so cold." I began to piece together their stories, to understand their obsessions and vulnerabilities. Just as Sister Wu said, they are both malevolent spirits and pitiable beings. And I must become the one who can master these malevolent spirits. Friday arrived, the visitation day as scheduled. Sinua came again, but this time, she was not alone. My parents, Lin Guodong and Zhao Jing, also accompanied her. They appeared considerably haggard, yet their gazes towards me remained icy. The value above my father Lin Guodong's head remained unchanged, while my mother Zhao Jing's figure jumped from 87 to 88. It seems she has committed some transgressions since I was taken away. Sinua affectionately linked her arm with Zhao Jing's, her face adorned with just the right amount of concern. "Dad, Mom, look, my sister seems to be much better. Her eyes are so clear." Zhao Jing regarded me with no sign of emotion. Instead, her expression was one of scrutiny. "Lin Wei, the doctor states that you have been cooperative with the treatment. If you can acknowledge your mistakes and apologize to Nua, we will take you home." Apologize? I looked at the harmonious scene of the three of them, and an icy chill enveloped my heart. I clenched the copper coins in my pocket, transmitting a faint intention. "Uncle Chin, are you not seeking for Xiaoya? That woman carries the fragrance of jasmine perfume, which your granddaughter adored." I was referring to Zhao Jing. I recalled that she had recently become infatuated with a niche salon scent, prominently featuring jasmine. Almost at the moment my intention was sent forth, Uncle Chen's eyes, which had been half closed, shot wide open. He fixed his gaze upon Zhao Jing, and a startling light erupted in his murky pupils. "Xiaoya." He propelled his wheelchair, charging towards Zhao Jing with frenzied urgency. "Xiaoya, Grandpa has found you. Come home with Grandpa." The sudden turn of events left everyone in shock. 2 caregivers rushed forward to intervene, but were violently shoved aside by the frail old man's surprising strength. Uncle Chen seized Zhao Jing's wrist with astonishing force. "Xiaoya, do you not recognize Grandpa? I am your grandfather." Zhao Jing, terrified beyond measure, struggled desperately. "What are you doing? Let go of me. I am not Xiaoya." Her piercing screams were heart-wrenching, and her wrist bore several scratches from Uncle Chen's nails. Sinua also stood frozen in fear, trembling behind Lin Guodong. Lin Guodong, both astonished and enraged, rushed to pry Uncle Chen away, only to be bitten fiercely on the arm by the old man. The scene instantly descended into chaos. More caregivers and doctors hurried over, and after a tremendous struggle, they managed to administer a sedative to Uncle Chen and drag him away. Zhao Jing collapsed to the ground, blood streaming from her wrist, sobbing uncontrollably. Lin Guodong clutched his bitten arm, his face ashen. He glared at me, as if I were the architect of this calamity. "Lin Wei, are you satisfied now?" I stood there, devoid of expression, merely observing them with a detached demeanor. "Dad, Mom, this place is too dangerous. You should leave quickly." My voice was calm and unperturbed, yet to their ears, it rang as a mockery. Ultimately, they left in disarray, even Sinua forgetting to continue her act of sisterly affection. Watching their retreating figures, a subtle smile played upon my lips. This was merely an appetizer. Sinua, along with my parents, what you owe me, I shall reclaim, with interest, piece by piece. Uncle Chin was confined, yet through the copper coins, I could hear his contented sigh. The scent of Xiaoya is truly delightful. He merely brushed against Yao Jing, and it seemed he had found immense solace, which even dimmed the value above Zhao Jing's head from 88 to half. Thus, this was the essence of consuming sin. It wasn't he about devouring in the literal sense, but rather engulfing the energy born from the guilt of the other. Zhao Jing's sin included a portion of guilt and indebtedness towards me. Uncle Chen's obsession with his granddaughter coincided with this guilt, thus allowing him to consume it. Zhao Jing may feel a fleeting sense of relief, but the sins absorbed will inevitably retaliate in a more forceful manner one day. I began to anticipate the next visitation. However, I did not wait for the following week, but rather for an unexpected visitor. On Monday, Dr. Zhou, adorned with golden-rimmed glasses, summoned me to his office alone. The room was suffused with the scent of an exquisite cologne, yet it could not mask the blood-red hue above his head, marked at 88. Lin Wei, he stated bluntly. Your parents have arranged for your discharge. I was taken aback. So soon? I had thought they would at least wait until my condition worsened further. However, Dr. Zhou continued. Adjusting his glasses, a glimmer of sharpness flashing behind the lenses, I have declined. Why? Because I believe your condition holds significant research value. He rose and approached me. Looking down upon me from his height. You seem to possess the ability to communicate with them, do you not? Alarm bells rang in my mind. He had discovered it. I do not understand what you are saying. I lowered my gaze, concealing all emotion. No, you understand. Dr. Zhou chuckled, a smile that sent chills down my spine. Last Friday, Uncle Chen's outburst was orchestrated by you, was it not? You influenced him in a manner that I have yet to comprehend. He reached out, attempting to touch my face. I instinctively stepped back, avoiding his advance. Do not be alarmed. Dr. Zhou retracted his hand, his smile deepening. I harbor no ill intent. I am merely a scholar filled with curiosity for the unknown. He circled me, as if appraising a rare artifact. Lin Wei, you are a treasure. A soul with a sin value of 0, yet capable of commanding a legion of malevolent spirits with a sin value of 100. Do you grasp the implications of this? He leaned closer to my ear, his voice laced with seduction. It signifies that you are the perfect vessel. A vessel? Onkong Hospital, along with its underground secrets, requires a new master. Dr. Zhou straightened, extending his hands, and I wish to extend an invitation for you to become my queen. I gazed at his face, flushed with excitement and the pulsating value above his head, now more pronounced at 88, feeling a wave of nausea wash over me. This man was even more deranged than I had imagined. He not only knew of the existence of sin eaters, but also sought to control them, intending to utilize me for his nefarious purposes. What if I refuse? I asked coldly. Oh, then you shall remain merely a patient. Dr. Zhou's smile turned frigid. A disobedient patient will invariably encounter many painful treatments awaiting her. For instance, electroshock therapy or frontal lobotomy. He was threatening me. I tightened my grip on the copper coins in my pocket, sensing the chill emanating from them. Sister Wu, Uncle Chin, the singing little girl, each face flashed through my mind. I could not remain passive. I need time to consider, I replied. Of course. Dr. Zhou returned to his executive chair. You have 3 days. After 3 days, I expect a wise response. Exiting the office, a chill ran down my spine. This path of vengeance was far more perilous than I had anticipated. Not only must I contend with Tsinua and my parents outside, but I also had to be wary of the serpent lurking within the hospital. That night, I conveyed Dr. Zhou's scheme to Sister Wu through the copper coins. After a prolonged silence, she finally spoke, her scissors snipping with greater urgency in the darkness. He wishes to become the new shepherd. After a prolonged silence, Sister Wu finally spoke, her voice imbued with a weighty gravity. Since the demise of the former director, the constraints binding us have significantly weakened. That hypocrite, Zhou Wenbin, has been incessantly seeking ways to reinforce these bindings. He has set his sights on you, intending to make you the new focal point of his power, effectively transforming us into his obedient hounds. We cannot allow him to succeed, I replied. Absolutely not. Sister Wu retorted with a cold laugh. He fancies himself a hunter, yet he remains oblivious to the fact that a starving dog will turn on its master. She leaned closer, lowering her voice. My dear girl, are you interested in undertaking a grand venture? Sister Wu's plan was both simple and audacious, to lure the serpent from its lair and then to shut the door on the dog. Dr. Zhou wished for me to become his queen, so I would acquiesce. Then, at the height of his arrogance, I would deliver him an unforgettable surprise. His greatest sin is not his greed, but his hubris, Sister Wu declared. He believes he can control everything, yet he fails to realize that evil itself cannot be wholly contained. In the ensuing 2 days, I outwardly portrayed a facade of anxiety, seemingly tormented by the weight of my decision. Meanwhile, I secretly forged connections with every patient in the hospital using the copper coin, conveying Dr. Zhou's ambitions in a manner they could comprehend. He intends to imprison us here forever as his slaves. He seeks to claim our most cherished desserts for himself. He aims to strip us of our final vestiges of freedom. The emotions of hunger, anger, and hatred coalesced within an invisible web of consciousness, culminating in a terrifying storm. And I stood at the eye of that tempest. On the 3rd day, I approached Dr. Zhou, informing him of my agreement. He appeared exceedingly pleased, even personally pouring me a cup of red tea. A wise choice. He adjusted his glasses, his eyes gleaming ominously behind the lenses. Lin Wei, you shall not regret this. Together, we shall usher in a new era. I lowered my head, feigning submissiveness. I have one condition, I stated. Speak. I want to witness you punish those who have wronged me. I raised my gaze, my eyes ablaze with the fire of vengeance. Sinua. And my parents, I want them to pay. This was precisely what Dr. Zhou desired. He needed a token of my loyalty, while I required a stage for my revenge. Not a problem, he readily agreed. I will arrange a special treatment and invite them to observe. You may indulge in the spectacle. He believed he held the reins of power. Unbeknownst to him, when he lured all his prey to the hunting ground, he too had become one of them. The special treatment was scheduled for Friday evening in an abandoned operating room located in the basement of the hospital. This place was steeped in the most profound malice, where the forces of constraint were at their zenith. On Friday afternoon, Lin Guodong, Zhao Jing, and Sinua received calls from Dr. Zhou. He spoke in a professional, authoritative tone, informing them of my deteriorating condition, which included severe self-harming and aggressive tendencies, necessitating a compulsory physical treatment, electroshock therapy. He kindly suggested that family members should be present to awaken my will to survive, or else the treatment could inflict irreversible damage on my brain. They fell for it, unhesitatingly agreeing to eliminate me as a nuisance. At 8 o'clock that evening, they arrived promptly at Onkong Hospital. Dr. Zhou personally welcomed them at the door and led them to the basement. Sinua clung to Zhao Jing's arm, her face betraying an uncontainable blend of excitement and cruelty. She was finally going to witness my torment firsthand. Lin Guodong wore a stern expression, yet the rapid pulsing at his temples indicated his inner turmoil. Following Dr. Zhou, they traversed the eerie corridors and entered the dust-laden operating room. I had already been secured to a cold surgical table, my wrists and ankles bound tightly by leather restraints. Sister, Sinua approached me, looking down with malicious glee. Do you see yourself now like a dog awaiting slaughter? I ignored her, quietly observing the numerical value hovering above her head. The time was drawing near. Dr. Zhou closed the heavy iron door of the operating room. Mr. Lin, Mrs. Lin, Miss Tsin, please stand behind the observation window. The treatment will commence shortly. The process may induce discomfort, he announced, donning white rubber gloves and picking up the electroshock device. Sinua and the others obediently positioned themselves behind a small glass window, anticipation evident on their faces. Dr. Zhou leaned closer to me, whispering in a tone only we could hear. Do not fear, it is merely a performance. Once they leave, this will be our crowning ceremony. He believed I was truly his accomplice. I gazed at him, suddenly smiling. Dr. Zhou, I said softly, have you ever heard the saying? What saying? It is easy to invite a deity, but far more difficult to send one away. Dr. Zhou's smile faltered, a flicker of realization dawning upon him. But it was too late. I closed my eyes and unleashed all my intentions through the searing copper coin, erupting forth in an instant. The feast begins. Almost simultaneously, the lights in the operating room flickered and extinguished, plunging the room into an impenetrable darkness. From behind the observation window, Sinua and Zhao Jing's screams echoed. What is happening? Is there a blackout? Turn on the lights. I'm scared. Dr. Zhou, too, was flustered, fumbling for the emergency lights, but finding nothing. In the darkness, Peculiar sounds began to resonate, the scraping of wheelchair wheels against the floor, a little girl humming a nursery rhyme, the snipping of scissors. These sounds drew closer from all directions. And the temperature in the operating room plummeted as if one had stepped into an ice cellar. "Who is there? Who's in this room?" Dr. Zhou yelled, his voice trembling. No one answered him. Only streaks of red light illuminated the darkness. Those were the patients, Chenbo, Sister Wu, the singing little girl, all the patients who had been silenced, now emerging in the operating room. Their forms appeared semi-transparent, their faces devoid of any foolishness or stupor, replaced by insatiable hunger and resentment. They revealed their true nature as the harbingers of retribution. "No, it's impossible. How could you break free from your bindings?" Dr. Zhou screamed in terror, finally comprehending that the situation had spiraled beyond his control. Sister Wu floated before him, the round-tipped scissors in her hand glinting with a chilling metallic sheen. "Dr. Zhou, did you truly believe that with your meager cunning, you could confine us?" Sister Wu's voice resonated as if it emerged from the depths of the underworld. "You overestimate yourself and underestimate the power of evil." Simultaneously, from the observation window, Lin Guodong and Sinua's horrified screams reached a fever pitch. They beheld their reflections in the glass, revealing a multitude of crimson eyes greedily fixating upon them from the darkness. That small observation window was no safeguard. It was a cage from which they could not escape. "Dad, Mom, what is that? What are those things?" Sinua's voice had shifted to a pitch of pure panic. "Don't come over. Stay away." Zhao Jing's scream abruptly ceased. I beheld a vague shadow piercing through the glass, casting itself upon her form. The numeral above her head began to dim at a discernible rate, while her body convulsed violently, the spark in her eyes fading rapidly. Lin Guodong yearned to save her. Yet he was ensnared by another shadow that emerged from the wall, entangling his legs. The numeral above him also became the target of the gluttonous sinners. Most tragically, however, was Sinua. Her delectable allure attracted nearly half of the ravenous sinners present. A singing little girl floated before her, presenting a tattered doll from her embrace. "Sister, play with me." Sinua's heart sank as she noticed that the doll's face had split open, revealing sharp teeth. "No." Her scream was drowned in the frenzied revelry of the damned. Meanwhile, Dr. Zhou found himself firmly trapped by Chenbo and Sister Wu. "Let me go. I am the director. I command you." He continued to struggle in vain. Chenbo's wheelchair collided with his leg, the force eliciting a cry of agony as he fell to his knees. "You are not our master," Chenbo smiled, revealing a set of gleaming white teeth. "You are merely our appetizer." He opened his mouth and lunged toward the numeral above Dr. Zhou's head. Bound to the operating table, I apathetically observed the chaotic scene unfolding before me. The straps that had restrained my limbs had mysteriously loosened. I sat up and slowly descended from the table. All the sinners instinctively parted a path for me. I approached the crumpled Sinua, who lay paralyzed on the ground, overwhelmed with terror, her bodily fluids pooling beneath her. The numeral above her head had now lost its luster, nearly vanishing. Her soul had been devoured, leaving it battered and bruised. She lifted her gaze to me, and in her dilated pupils, a flicker of desperation emerged. "Sister, save me." I squatted before her, gazing at the face I once loathed. "Sinua," I whispered softly, "I return your innocent life to you, and I bestow upon you my hell." With that, I turned away, striding toward the operating room's exit. Behind me echoed the endless wails of the damned. I pushed open the heavy iron door and stepped outside. The corridor was illuminated, as if everything that had transpired was merely a nightmare in the basement. The hospital's security and on-duty nurse seemed to have heard the commotion and were hastening towards me. Upon seeing me emerge from the forbidden lower level, they were momentarily stunned. "Miss Lin, how did you end up here?" I offered no reply, silently passing by them. Step by step, toward the entrance of Onkong Hospital. No one obstructed my path. Or rather, they did not dare. I could feel the weight of countless awe-filled gazes behind me. The sinners did not harm me, for my sin value remained at 0. I was merely the host of a banquet, a detached observer. As I exited the doors of Onkong Hospital, I inhaled the liberating and crisp air outside. Glancing back, the building loomed in the night like a slumbering beast, tranquil yet eerie. The revelry below would not cease for an unknown time. Yet I understood that the lives of Lin Guodong, Zhao Jing, Sinua, and Dr. Zhou had come to an end. They would not die. Death would be too lenient for them. They would become new patients, eternally trapped in that living hell. Not upon by sin day and night until their souls were utterly rendered to nothingness. The numerals above their heads would gradually fade to 0, transforming them into cleansed beings like myself. However, I was a blank slate, while they were discarded remnants, completely erased of all traces. The following day, the news of the Lin family's president, his wife, and their adopted daughter mysteriously vanishing from the psychiatric hospital made headlines. The police investigation yielded no results. The operating room on the lower level was thoroughly cleaned, as though it had never been used. Dr. Zhou had also inexplicably disappeared. A new director took charge of the hospital, and everything returned to normal. No one knew what transpired that night. I returned to the villa once referred to as home. It was desolate, devoid of those who would scorn and detest me. I entered Sinua's room, where my clothes hung in her wardrobe and my jewelry adorned her vanity. I reclaimed my belongings piece by piece. Then I summoned a moving company to clear out all items belonging to Sinua and her parents, disposing of them in a landfill. A month later, through my lawyer, I formally inherited all of the Lin family's assets, for I was their sole legal heir. With their disappearance, these possessions naturally reverted to me. I utilized this wealth to establish a foundation dedicated to aiding those like Sister Wu's daughter, innocent victims of malevolence who had no recourse for justice. Occasionally, I would return to the entrance of Onkong Hospital, glancing from afar. I sensed that order had been restored within. Without Dr. Zhou's oppression and guidance, the sinners had fallen into a deeper slumber, awaiting the next heinous desert to present itself. And I never set foot there again. The tarnished coin in my pocket was cast into the sea. I no longer required it. The power to command demons ultimately did not belong to me. I yearned only to live as an ordinary individual with a sin value of 0, basking in the sunlight. Clean and untainted. The end of the tale. Thank you for listening. Until we meet again in the next story.